Chun, can you even get anything done? Early in the morning, Su Qingya slammed a file right in my face. Useless, good for nothing. If you can't do the job, get out. What are you still hanging around for? Plenty of people would be happy to take your place. I hung my head in defeat, not saying a word. Su Qingya was the CEO of Lilith Group, widely known across the company as an ice-cold beauty. Her nickname? The She-Devil. She never picked a time or place to chew people out. I had no idea what terrible karma I'd accumulated in my past life to end up with such a demonic boss. You ask why I don't quit? Simple. The devil pays way too well. I can't just throw away money for the sake of pride, can I? After work, I use my humiliation pay to treat myself to a nice girl to soothe my wounded spirit. Isn't that way better? So I headed to a newly opened maid cafe. When I saw the maid in front of me, dressed in sexy lace with a bow in her hair, I froze on the spot, my mind going completely blank. No way! Isn't that, Chun? The only purpose you serve in this world is showing me just how low the bar for humanity can go. Actually, you don't even qualify as human. You're nothing but a disgusting bug. Worthless trash. Your proposal is absolute garbage. I glanced at it once, and my brain was instantly clogged with garbage information. Early in the morning I got torn apart by Su Qingya at the office for another 2 hours straight. Every word was sharp and cutting, designed to cut right to the bone. Chun, I'll give you 3 more days. If you still can't hand in a proposal I'm satisfied with, pack your things and get lost. With that, she swept her gaze over the members of my team. I'll have someone capable take over your position. That one sentence sent them all into a panic, their eyes glued to their screens as they hammered away at their keyboards. Not a single one dared to meet Su Qingya's gaze. Who would want to catch her eye? That would be a death sentence. Other companies practice survival of the fittest. With Su Qingya, it's like the Grim Reaper picking names at random. Of course, she'd never actually fire me. Before me, no one had lasted a full month in my position. Only me, 3 years and counting. They gave me a nickname. The ultimate stress king. Su Qingya strode away in her high heels, and I crouched down to silently pick up the scattered papers. The intern, who'd been reduced to tears by her scolding just last month, saw me hunched over in silence and hurried over to help. Team lead, are you okay? Hang in there, if you go down we're all doomed. There wasn't a trace of sympathy in his eyes, just pure survival instinct. Can you blame him? Word has it the last employee who quit after getting chewed out by Su Qingya went to therapy for 3 months and still hasn't recovered. I'm fine, I smiled faintly. I wasn't picking them up slowly because my hands were shaking. It was because from this crouching angle I had the perfect view of Su Qingya's long legs wrapped in black stockings. Her bodycon skirt hugged her curves perfectly, matching her domineering stride. Every step felt like it was stepping right on my heart. A nasally voice came from behind me. Good morning, Xiaochun. Getting torn apart by the she-devil first thing in the morning? Don't do anything drastic now. We're both gunning for department head after all. If you jumped off a building right now, people might think I had something to do with it. Ha 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 ha. Li Jianran from the next team sauntered over, clearly gloating over my scolding. Li Jianran had been at the company for over 20 years and was still just a team lead. A department head position had opened up recently, and he'd had his eye on it for ages. Let's be real, everyone at the company who's better than me at the job doesn't have my mental fortitude. And everyone with better mental fortitude isn't as capable as I am. The department head spot was basically mine already. I never even considered Li Jianran a real threat. But flies don't bite, they just buzz around and annoy you. I didn't hold back. If you were actually promotion material, you'd have moved up ages ago. How else would you still be a team lead after 20 years? You're disrespecting your elders. Li Jianran was so furious at my retort, he clutched his chest like he was about to pass out. I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice. You'd do well to watch yourself, young man. Eating that much salt. No wonder everything you say tastes pickled. That line hit him right where it hurt. The surrounding co-workers snickered behind their hands, even his own subordinates. Ook. At that, Li Jianran couldn't catch his breath and nearly fainted on the spot. After getting chewed out by Sukinya every day, I'd accidentally picked up a little of her sharp tongue. Not just any random nobody could come picking a fight with me. Work was over. I did a quick mental calculation, another 1,000 yuan of humiliation pay in the bank today. Funny thing was, the harsher Sukinya's scolding, the more solid the money felt in my hand. I was starting to think she'd unlock some weird kink in me. But hey, earning mental damage compensation? Nothing shameful about that. I'd just finished packing up when my buddy Kai leaned over, slung an arm around my shoulder, and grinned mischievously. Got torn apart pretty bad by the she-devil today, huh? How about we find a nice girl tonight to soothe that wounded ego of yours? Damn right, I said, already on board. That was the secret to surviving 3 years under Sukinya. Cute girls make all your troubles disappear. Pretty girls keep you smiling all year. I might get torn to shreds at work, but after hours? Book a cute girl to chat and play games with, and I'm back to full strength the next day. Call it work-life balance. Otherwise, I'd never be able to handle Sukinya's onslaught the next day if I wasn't fully recharged. Kai snickered and flipped through his phone. There's a new maid cafe that just opened. Kind of out of the way, but I hear the girls there are top tier. Wanna go check it out? Let's go. Kai and I were on the same page immediately. We hopped in the car and headed straight there. The further we drove, the more remote it got. Finally we turned down an alley and stopped in front of a run-of-the-mill old building. I got out, looked around, and gave Kai a suspicious look. Where'd you even find this place? This doesn't look like a legitimate cafe. Kai thumped his chest confidently. Totally legitimate. The good ones are always hard to find. You gotta know someone. I followed him inside, still skeptical. We went up the stairs, down a long narrow hallway, and finally spotted a sign, Kitty Maid Caf. Maybe because it was new, the place looked a little quiet. I had just pushed the door open when, "Welcome home, master," a chorus of sweet-made voices greeted us in unison. Just that one line was enough to put a smile on my face. The manager, an adorable cat-girl maid, said, "Master, what we're about to show you is true paradise. Warm yellow lighting, soft sofas, and a line of girls in all kinds of maid outfits, their smiles sweet enough to drip honey." Every single one of them was gorgeous. Kai was already heading inside like a regular, waving back at me. "Chun, what are you standing there for? Come on in and pick your girl." I swallowed hard and followed him. Was this actually paradise? The cat girl manager led Kai and me into a private booth. She knelt by the coffee table, swiping through a tablet full of maid profiles that made my head spin. "Master, our maid cafe is all about companionship and emotional support. We have 4 tiers, 98 yuan for basic experience, 198 for gold service, 298 for premium companionship, and 998 for the ultimate experience. Let's start with the 98 one, just to test the waters," Kai said. Soon enough, the 98 Chuan girl came in. She wore a standard black and white maid dress. She wasn't the prettiest, but she had 2 little fangs when she smiled, which was super cute. She knelt down beside Kai and me with a cup of tea, looked up and called out "Master" in a soft voice. Kai practically melted. He turned to me, voice buzzing with barely contained excitement. "Chun, if the 98 one looks this good, the 998 one must be insane. I got roasted so bad by the she-devil today, I'm treating myself. Manager, get me the 998 ultimate experience." The fangirl's smile froze for a split second, then she turned and left. Kai rubbed his hands eagerly, watching her back as he called out, "It's not you, babe. It's me. My standards are just too high." The manager gestured immediately. "Right this way, master. The ultimate experience is in a private room. I'll show you there now." Kai jumped right up. When he saw I wasn't moving, he paused. "Chun, you don't want to go for the ultimate experience?" I smiled. "You know me. I prefer the amateur girls." Amateur girls weren't actual employees of the cafe, just girls curious about the job who wanted to try it out. They didn't come often, so they never showed their full faces. The best part was the price, 50% off. I was going for the 198 gold service, which came out to just 99 yuan. For less than $100, you get emotional companionship from a girl. And I loved that mystery like opening a blind box. I stared thoughtfully at the selected photo on the tablet. The amateur girls wore lace eye masks since they didn't show their full faces. The lace masks were small, only covering the area around their eyes. The nose, lips and chin that were visible. The more I looked, the more familiar they seemed. Like I'd seen them somewhere before, but I couldn't place it right away. Waiting always felt like forever. I started a game to pass the time, and just as I was in the middle of it, I heard the crisp click of high heels outside the door. Steady, unhurried, with a light, even rhythm. Every step felt like it was plucking at my heartstrings. Knock, 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 may I come in? The voice through the door sounded stiff, nothing like the sweet maid voice I'd been expecting. Since when do maids sound like a boss doing an inspection? I thought to myself, oh no. Did I get scammed by the photo? Before I could even answer, the door swung open. The next second, a maid dressed in a bunny girl costume stepped inside. She was tall and graceful, with a fluffy tail on her back that swayed softly as she walked, playful and adorable. Her eyes and brows, hidden behind the lace eye mask, only added to her air of mystery. Though I couldn't make out her features clearly in the dim light, I could tell at a glance she had delicate, refined contours. From my years of experience with women, this was definitely a stunning beauty. My breath caught in my throat. That figure, that face, she was absolutely perfect. To be honest, I'd booked amateurs before, and the quality was all over the place. Total luck of the draw. I'll admit I was gambling a little. But this time, I hit the jackpot. A legendary pull right off the bat. She walked slowly toward me, her brows furrowed, and spoke in a condescending tone. What do you want to do? Her voice was as harsh as if she were interrogating a prisoner, laced with what felt like genuine physical disgust for me. But the more she acted like that, the more excited I got. I loved it when people looked at me like I was trash. There was nothing more satisfying than crushing that look and turning them into someone who only had eyes for me. That contrast, that shift, was exactly why I loved booking amateurs. Of course, I do whatever I want, whenever I want. I spun her around and pressed her onto the bed, leaning down close with a playful smirk on my lips. The overhead light fell right on her annoyed face, giving me a clear, close-up view of her features. The next second, I froze completely. My mind went blank with a roar. Sukinya? It felt like a depth charge had gone off in my head. We were off the clock. Why was the she-devil still haunting me, dressing up as a bunny girl just to catch me here? No way. There was no way Suchinga would be in a place like this. I must have been so worn out from her yelling at me all day that I was hallucinating. I forced myself to calm down and studied the woman in front of me carefully. She looked like her, but not quite. Same bone structure, but her face was totally different. See? I knew it couldn't be her. I let out a sigh of relief. Who was Suchinga anyway? Campus belle of Qinghu and Peking, double masters from a top overseas university, 9th degree black belt in Taekwondo. She took over the family business at 26 and quadrupled its market value in 3 years. Cover star of finance magazines. One of the city's top 10 outstanding youths. An elite powerhouse followed by spotlights wherever she went. With that cold, arrogant face that looked at everyone like they were bugs. There was no way she'd dress up as a bunny girl and show up in a dump like this. I'd sooner believe the beggar on the street was the first emperor of Qin, than believe this woman was Sukinya. Just as I was zoning out, the woman beneath me suddenly struck. Her smooth legs coiled around my waist, she twisted her hips, and flipped me over like a snake. The whole move was fluid, impossibly fast. What the hell? By the time I came to my senses, my hands were pinned behind my back, her thighs clamped around my head, ankles locked together, a perfect scissor hold, trapping me completely. Her skin was smooth and cool, with a faint warmth and an indescribably delicate fragrance. Give up? She leaned down, her voice low and thick with scorn and contempt. My head was ringing, my face burning hotter and hotter. I was starting to feel lightheaded from the hold, but my mind was only getting clearer. I hadn't been totally sure this woman was Sukinya before, but now I was positive. Makeup can change a woman's face. I could mix up someone's face, but those legs? Never. I'd stared at Sukinya's legs at work for 3 years. I'd recognize them anywhere. I'd always wondered what they'd feel like. Never thought I'd find out with my face before my hands. I asked you a question. She squeezed harder. Give up? Pinned to the bed, my face bright red, I gasped out with my last breath. Sukinya. I knew it was you. At the sound of her name, her body went visibly stiff. Then she let go of me and turned to run. Cough, cough, cough. I nearly choked to death right then and there. That woman was ridiculously strong. I'd always thought the she-devil put all her points into verbal attacks. What with that sharp tongue of hers? Turns out she maxed out physical attacks too. That 9th degree black belt was no joke, but now that I had her cornered, there was no way I was letting her get away. I caught my breath just as Sukinya turned to bolt for the door. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and called out with a grin. President Su, I've been recording this whole time since you walked in. Imagine what everyone at the company would think if they found out our ice-cold CEO was moonlighting in a bunny-maid costume at a place like this. Of course, there was nothing on my phone. I was bluffing. All fun and games aside, you don't take photos at places like this. I always played by the unwritten rules. Suchinya froze instantly. She stood there silent for a few seconds, like she was weighing a terrible decision. Then she turned around and ripped the lace eye mask off her face. In the lamplight, her expression was cold enough to freeze water. Chun, Chun, I knew it was you. You couldn't hide that look like you wanted to carve someone to pieces. That's exactly what Sukinya looked like right now. Her eyes were sharp as blades, like she wanted to skin me alive. The next second, she slipped back into her CEO persona and held out a hand. Hand over the phone if you know what's good for you. You know full well you're no match for me. I tossed the phone right over to her without a second thought. I'd already gotten a taste of her fighting skills. There was no way I could win. She was gonna take it from me sooner or later anyway. Might as well hand it over and save some dignity. Suchinya caught the phone, and her murderous expression flickered for half a second. She probably hadn't expected me to be so cooperative. Smart move. She sneered and started going through the phone. I leaned back against the headboard and smiled faintly. Don't bother, President Su. It's useless. She looked up at me, her gaze sharp as a knife. I took a slow sip of hot tea. The full video's already uploaded to a private cloud. Even if you ate the phone, it wouldn't do any good. You. Sukinya glared at me furiously, her knuckles white around the phone. I grinned. I know you're furious, President Su, but take it easy. Watching her seethe, helpless to do anything about it, filled me with a sense of triumph I'd never felt before. The she-devil who'd looked down on everyone and torn me to shreds that morning was now completely at my mercy. Sukinya took a deep breath, strode over to me in her high heels, and shoved the phone back into my hand. She leaned down close to my face and said, slow and deliberate, Chun Chun, delete the video and the cloud files within 1 minute, or you're fired tomorrow. I looked at her face so close to mine and smiled. Watch your tone, President Su. I leaned back further, crossed my legs, and even slipped into a Sichuan accent. Who do you think's calling the shots here? Suchinya's face turned thunderous. Her chest rose and fell sharply before she forced out through gritted teeth. Spit it out. How much do you want? Money? I looked at her, feigning disappointment. President Su, you think so little of me? That I'd only care about money? Then what do you want? Sukinya all but shouted. I leaned back against the headboard and smiled lazily. There you go again, getting all worked up. Her patience was clearly at its breaking point, her chest heaving with every breath. But with the video in my hand, she had no choice but to swallow her anger and sit down, jaw tight. I patted the edge of the bed, gesturing for her to sit. She still looked at me like I was garbage, but she sat down beside me anyway. I loved that look in her eyes, arrogant, stubborn, unyielding. There we go. I smiled. Let's talk this out nicely. What are you doing dressed like this, in a place like this? Work's been stressful. I write novels in my spare time and publish them. The female lead this time is an undercover agent posing as a sex worker. I wanted to experience it for myself to make the character feel more real and vivid. Suchinya paused and shot me a vicious glare. Of course I had to run into you the second I got here. Hey. Stick to the topic, no personal attacks. I cut her off quickly. I never would have guessed the CEO of the group had a side like this. Then I said, earnest and sincere, do you know what everyone at the company calls you behind your back? The she-devil. You know why? Because you never talk to anyone nicely. She scoffed, eyes full of contempt. So what? A bunch of useless nobodies. What right do they have to judge me? I paused, my smile fading. I'm glad you're willing to sit and talk with me, President Sue. But I don't like the way you're talking to me. Sukinya didn't even glance up, then dropped dead. Why would I care if a bug like me likes me? Fair point. I smiled faintly and twirled the phone in my hand. But if you keep talking to me like this, that video of yours is going to be all over the internet in an hour. The beautiful CEO of Lilith Group, Ice Queen in public, sneaking around in bunny-maid costumes in places like this. People love that kind of contrast. I bet it'd go viral. Chun chun. Sukinya shot to her feet, her face dark with rage, her gaze sharp as a poisoned blade. What the hell do you want? That murderous aura rolled off her in waves. Anyone else would have been terrified out of their wits. I'd seen it 100 times. She crushed her business rivals with that exact presence. Some people couldn't even string a sentence together under her stare. They caved so fast. But not me. Who was I? The ultimate stress king. A man who'd put up with 3 years of her yelling and never quit. I knew every trick in the she-devil's book. I want to be your brother. I reached out to tilt her chin up. The next second, Suchinya grabbed my wrist and twisted it hard. A searing pain shot up from my knuckles. She'd bent my hand into a position it had no business being in. Chun, chun. Her eye twitched, her voice cold as shards of ice. You're asking for it. Ow, 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 ow. President Sue. Whether the first live or die doesn't matter, my life's worthless anyway. But if this gets out, I can't guarantee you'll keep your job as CEO of Lilith Group. You wouldn't want to lose everything you've built, would you? I gritted my teeth, delivering the harshest threat in the most cowardly tone. At the word job, Suchinye's hand visibly trembled. She stared daggers at me like she wanted to tear me limb from limb, but I knew I'd hit her where it hurt most. Lilith Group was her pride and joy, everything she'd poured her life's work into to build and hold onto. She could never lose it. Fine. She let go, looking like all the strength had drained out of her. Hiss. I sucked in a sharp breath and shook my red, swollen fingers. She'd nearly broken them. Then I spoke in a commanding tone. You hurt my fingers, big brother's fingers. What are you gonna do about it? Suchinya kept her head down, silent for 3 seconds. Then she took my hand in hers, bowed her head and blew gently on my fingers. Her fingertips were cold, her breath warm. Her long lashes fell, hiding her eyes. I couldn't see her expression, but I knew she must be burning with shame and fury. Is that good enough? She looked up at me, her eyes complicated. There was anger, humiliation, and something else I couldn't quite place. I pulled my hand back and looked at her. What did you just call me? Chun Chun. She looked at me defiantly. What, did you change your name? I raised my hand and gave her a light, sharp slap. Not hard, but the sound was crisp. Sukinya froze completely, her face turned to the side, eyes wide with shock. She'd never been treated like this in her entire life. Even the board members of the group treated her with respect. And today, she'd been hit by one of her own employees. Say big brother. I looked down at her, no trace of yielding in my eyes, like a king gazing at his concubine. She turned her head back and stared daggers at me. The air hung heavy for a full 10 seconds. Big brother. Suchinya's voice was so soft it was barely a whisper. I heard her perfectly clear, but I pretended not to. Louder. I can't hear you. She glowered at me, her lips pressed into a thin line. 3 more seconds passed. Big brother. This time it was much louder, still gritted through her teeth, but a lot better than before. Good. I smiled faintly and nodded. I looked calm as could be on the outside, but inside I was over the moon. Oh, Suchinya. You're really in for it now that I've got you right where I want you. Big brother. Big brother. Big brother. I pulled out my phone and played the recording 3 times in a row. By the end, Sukinya's lips were white from biting them, and her ears were bright red. Great. She hadn't gotten rid of the first blackmail material, and now she'd given me even more. Chun, if I do what you say, will you give me the video? That depends on how good you are. Sukinya crossed her arms over her chest and stared at me like I was some kind of pervert. If you're trying to get me to sleep with you, you can forget it. I'd rather destroy both of us than let that happen. You're overthinking this, President Zhu. I looked her up and down. Look at who you are and who I am. Let's be real. You only get to sleep with me as a reward if you're really, really good. Right now, you don't even get to dream about it. Oh, good. Sukinya visibly relaxed. But she celebrated too soon. I spoke up suddenly. Xiaoyaya, go get a basin of hot water and wash my feet. Sukinya frowned slightly. Xiaoyaya, you can't be talking to me. Who else would I be talking to? Out there, you're the CEO of Lilith Group. But in front of me, you're Xiaoyaya. Am I some kind of dog? You can't just give me a nickname. Sukinya was grinding her teeth so hard I could almost hear it. I looked at her. Well, go on. She clenched her fists, but finally turned and did as she was told. She came back with the hot water and set the basin at my feet. Sukinya knelt there, frozen. Take off my shoes. She looked up and glared at me, pure resistance in her eyes. I didn't say anything. I just stared back. Sukinya had no choice but to bow her head, reach out, untie my laces, pull off my shoes, and yank off my socks. Her movements were stiff, like she was defusing a bomb. No matter. She'd get used to it with time. Go on. Wash them. Sukinya lowered my feet into the water. The temperature was perfect. Her cool, small hands gently caressed the soles of my feet. Meanwhile, I reached into my pants and pulled out my blazing hot Huawei phone. I enjoyed Sukinya's service while picking up my game of Honor of Kings. I'd been a FK for ages, and the AI had played for a few minutes, dragging my KDA from 1 to 8, all the way to 10 to 8. We were already at the enemy's base. I smiled confidently. Watch this. I won't die once. I'm gonna carry this whole game. 5 minutes later, our crystal exploded. Defeat. Sukinya was drying my feet with a towel. She looked up at me with that perfect face of hers and said, I thought you said you wouldn't die once and carry the game. I awkwardly pointed at the scoreboard, still stuck at 10 to 8. Hey, I didn't die once, did I? Sukinya curled her lip, clearly disgusted. The longer I looked at her, the more annoyed I got. You got some nerve asking? This is all your fault. I was furious. I'd stayed up way too late the night before, so I was an hour late to the office. The second I walked in, all hell had broken loose. Sukinya was tearing into my team full force. Without the ultimate stress king there to take the heat, these losers didn't stand a chance against the she-devil's wrath. And after I'd gotten the better of her yesterday, she was clearly spoiling for a fight full-on rage mode, no holds barred. Kai, my second in command, looked like he'd given up on life. The intern was crying into her hands and the rest of the team looked utterly defeated. A weak leader makes a weak team. It's because of that useless Chun-Chun that I'm stuck with a bunch of lazy good-for-nothing trash. Like you. Sukinya was in full swing, and hadn't noticed me yet. Her voice rose another notch. Where is that idiot? It's this late and he still hasn't shown up? Did he drop dead somewhere? Just then, I pushed open the office door. Li Jianran saw me walking straight into the line of fire and immediately called out gleefully, Well, look who's here. Hey, idiot, why don't you tell President Zhu where you've been hiding? Perfect payback for me embarrassing him yesterday. Everyone in the office except my team burst out laughing, all eyes on me. From what everyone knew about Sukinya, I was as good as dead. And it was going to be a brutal end. Kai slapped a hand over his face. We're done for. He was furiously signaling me with his eyes. Chun, I texted you. The she-devil's on a rampage today for no reason. I told you not to come in. I'd seen the message. I just didn't care. A tiger without teeth is just a Hello Kitty. When Sukinya saw me in the doorway, she froze for a second. Her eyes swirled with anger, shame, and the humiliation of yesterday. Normally, this would be the part where I hang my head and wait for my execution. But I was Sukinya's big brother now. What kind of big brother bows to his little kitten? I looked Sukinya straight in the eye and walked right up to her. Even in her high heels, at 189 centimeters tall, I still towered over her by more than half a head. Li Jianran was ecstatic at my boldness. Finally, the idiot snapped. The department head spot is mine. Ha 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 ha. Kai was gripping his hands so tight his knuckles were white. Chun. No, hold your tongue. I'll book you 10 girls after work. 10. Is that enough? I stared down at Sukinya. We stood face to face, tension thick in the air. The sky had cleared, the rain had stopped, and Sukinya clearly thought she was tough again. My gaze was sharp, saying without words, "What? One night's sleep and you forgot your place already?" Crushed by my presence, Sukinya's lashes fluttered. She deflated like a punctured balloon, all that ferocious anger vanishing in an instant. "What are you standing there for? Get back to your desk." It was supposed to sound like an order, but her eyes were full of pleading. "Big brother, we had a deal, right? Big brother, we had a deal, right? Out here I'm still President Su." "Yes, President Su." I immediately slipped back into my usual obsequious act and meekly returned to my seat. Some people are just ... useless. I can't even be bothered to scold you. Jay, just think about what you've done." Sukinya scurried away like a frightened kitten, all flustered. She was so frazzled she even stumbled a little. "Impossible. There's no way." Li Jianren's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He stumbled back 2 steps. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes so hard you'd think he'd been hit with the infinite Tsukuyomi. Everyone else in the office was equally stunned, faces frozen in shock. No one had ever seen the she-devil look flustered before. Kai slung an arm around my shoulder and whispered, "Dude, did you catch her murdering someone or something?" How do I put this? Something like that. Of course, the little secret between Sukinya and me stayed between us. I shot back, "Didn't you say she was on a rampage?" Seemed pretty happy to me. She even winked at me before she left. "Quit blowing smoke. She must have had something urgent come up and decided to spare you for now. Just wait. She'll come for you later." Before Kai even finished speaking, Sukinya's secretary walked over. Chun, President Su would like to see you." I shot Kai a glare. "Oog, you and your big mouth H." Kai went quiet, giving me a good luck with that look. By now, Li Jianran had snapped out of his shock and was practically giddy. Payback time. She's definitely gonna fire him. Ha ha ha, this is perfect. I walked into Sukinya's office. The secretary stepped out and closed the door behind her. The lock clicked softly shut. Alone together in the room, the air between us grew thick with tension. Most of all, things between Sukinya and me had gotten complicated. I spoke first. "You wanted to see me? Big brother?" Her voice was barely a whisper, her eyes darting away. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have talked about you behind my back just now. And thank you for not embarrassing me in front of everyone at the office." I stepped in front of her, reached out, and tilted her chin up gently. "We had a deal, didn't we? Out there, you're still the untouchable CEO. You can yell at me all you want, just like before." "Just like before?" Sukinya couldn't believe her ears. She'd thought I'd start throwing my weight around at work from now on. She'd even braced herself for an all-out war between us. I smiled. "Yeah. I liked you better when you were all high and mighty. Go back to that, will you?" Sukinya froze. The panic in her eyes faded, replaced by something complicated, something she couldn't quite name. I knelt down and carefully lifted the foot she'd twisted earlier. I slipped off her high heels slowly and massaged her ankle gently. It had a graceful curve, soft and firm under my fingers. "Does it still hurt?" I asked softly. Sukinya sucked in a sharp breath at first, her brows furrowed slightly. But as my fingers worked, her brows slowly relaxed. "It feels better now." She looked at me, her expression mixed. "You actually remembered which foot I twisted?" "Of course I did." I kept massaging, not looking up. "Working under you all these years, you learned to read the room. How else would I have survived this long?" "Am I really that terrifying?" she asked. "Looks like Miss Su has no idea just how fierce she really is." I didn't answer, letting the silence speak for itself. Noticing her awkwardness, I pinched my nose and changed the subject on purpose. Whoa, President Sue, you need to wash these feet. They reek. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was at the door. President Sue, here are the documents you asked for. It was Li Jianran. Su Qingya glanced at me. Go back first. Come back later. Instead, I ducked under the desk and raised an eyebrow at her. Let him in. Su Qingya glanced down at me. She bit her lip and whispered, Don't do anything stupid, okay? I winked and gave her an okay sign. Relax. She took a deep breath, adjusted her posture, tugged her bodycon skirt down a little, and called out, Hold on, come in. The door opened. Li Jianran walked in hunched over, clutching a folder, looking like a total sycophant. President Sue, here are the regional sales figures from last quarter you asked for. I've already organized them. He handed the folder to Su Qingya respectfully. Also, a few agents from the East China region want to take you out for dinner tomorrow. What do you think? Su Qingya took the folder and flipped through it absent-mindedly. Li Jianran rambled on with his report. The East China team says this quarter's targets are a bit high. They want to negotiate a 5% reduction. Su Qingya made a non-committal sound, her voice distant. President Sue, are you all right? Do you feel unwell? No. I am fine. Should I have someone take you to the hospital? Li Jianran looked concerned and leaned in a step closer. No. Su Qingya's voice shot up. Then she realized she'd overreacted and lowered it again. Just a cramp in my foot. I'm fine. Keep going. As she spoke, she kicked me hard with her other foot. She was telling me to behave. But I knew women always said the opposite of what they meant. When she said stop, she meant go on. So instead of stopping, I went even further. Afternoon. Chun Chun, you useless piece of trash, low-life bug, garbage. Su Qingya sat in her chair, legs crossed, and slammed the folder right in my face. Papers scattered everywhere. What are you staring at? Pick them up. Pick up all the papers. I knelt on the floor and picked them up one by one. Su Qingya's high heels swayed right in front of my eyes, the stiletto tapping against the floor again and again. She yelled at me in time with the taps. Wolves travel far and eat meat. Dogs travel far and eat shit. You travel far and eat dog shit. Look at the garbage you turn in every day. Is any of it even worth anything? What are you looking at? Got a problem? Who said you could hold your head up that high? Keep it down, you useless waste of space. Su Qingya kicked my shoulder impatiently. She loomed over me like she was stepping on a bug. Even Kai sucked in a breath at the sight. The she-devil yelled all the time, but this was the first time she'd gotten physical. Even Li Jianran from the next team looked like he felt bad for me. After work, I didn't go out with Kai to pick up girls anymore. Going out was inconvenient and risky. Su Qingya drove her Maybach straight to my place after work, but I deliberately took the subway and got home half an hour late. The second I pushed the door open, she was already there in a maid outfit, kneeling in the entryway to greet me. Welcome home, big brother. Su Qingya tilted her pretty face up at me, her eyes sparkling like she really had been waiting for me all day. Xiaoyaya, were you a good girl while I was gone? I reached out and stroked the hair at her temple. She nuzzled her cheek into my palm like a proud little kitten. Then she took my briefcase and hung up my coat. Big brother must be tired after work. Let Xiaoyaya help you relax. And so, the two of us fell into this shameless, crazy little routine. By day, she called me useless trash. By night, she called me big brother. The whole company was just part of our little game. As Su Qingya got bolder at work, the scoldings got worse and worse. Everyone thought my shot at department head was as good as gone. Li Jianran was so sure the job was his, he'd booked a hotel a week early to celebrate his promotion. Kai and the whole team stood firmly behind me. Don't worry, Chun. We all believe in you. Not a single one of us is going to Li Jianran's little celebration dinner. I smiled and clapped him on the shoulder. Go. Why wouldn't you? Free food is free food. Kai stared at me blankly, thinking all the yelling had finally broken me. Li Jianran got even cockier, sauntering over with a smug grin. Xiao Chun, you have to come next week. Without you to compare myself to, the promotion just won't feel as good. Ah ha ha ha. He laughed so hard he doubled over, like the promotion letter was already in his pocket. I laughed right along with him. I'll be there. Count on it. The next week. The all-staff meeting. Suchinya stood on stage in a black suit radiating authority. The room was dead silent, every eye fixed on the appointment letter in her hand. Li Jianren sat in the front row, dressed to the nines with a perfectly knotted tie, grinning so wide he could barely contain it. On our side of the room the mood was as grim as a funeral. Kai had his fists clenched, the intern was staring at her shoes, and everyone else looked defeated. After all, Sukinya had been chewing me out almost every day lately. We were lucky the team hadn't been disbanded entirely. Promotion? Not a chance. Now I'd like to announce the new department head. Suchinya scanned the room, her gaze brushing past Li Jianran's face and lingering for a second. Li Jianran was already halfway out of his seat, ready to pop the champagne. Chun, chun. The room went dead silent. Li Jianran's smile froze on his face, looking like he'd just swallowed a fly. But smiles don't disappear, they just move to someone else's face. I stood up, feigning surprise, and walked up to the stage. I'd known the result all along. Let's be real with where I stood now. I could ask Sukinya to let me be CEO for a couple days and she wouldn't dare say no. As I passed Li Jianren, I clapped him on the shoulder with a smile. See? I knew you had my back, brother Li. You even booked the celebration dinner early just for me. His face fell like a wilted eggplant. He opened his mouth but not a single sound came out. Kai practically jumped out of his seat, throwing an arm around the intern next to him. Holy shit, he did it. Chun actually got promoted. I knew it. All that yelling? That's just how President Su shows she cares. It was all a test. The whole team cheered and applauded like it was New Year's. Thunderous applause filled the room. I stood in front of Sukinya and took the letter. Thank you for your guidance, President Su. And thank you for all the care and affection you've shown me these past 3 years. I put extra emphasis on care and affection. Some people in the audience laughed, some clapped, and some seethed with jealousy. Suchinya's lip twitched slightly, but she quickly schooled her face back into that icy expression. Only I saw the red creeping up her ears. After the meeting, Kai and I headed to the fire escape for a smoke. The second we pushed the door open, we saw Li Jianran crouched in the corner on the phone, his back to us. His voice was low, but the fire escape was so quiet we could hear every word. A woman's voice came from the phone, weak but hopeful. Aren, did you get the promotion? Are you department head now? Li Jianren's voice boomed out, loud and proud. Of course I did. I'm the department head at Lilith Group now. I've got over 100 people working under me. I knew it. You're the best, Aren. The absolute best. The woman's voice was warm and smiling, her tone rising playfully like she was cooing at him. Moir! Li Jianran kissed the phone, grinning from ear to ear. He was on cloud 9 until he turned around and saw us standing in the doorway. His smile dropped instantly. Kai's temper snapped immediately. He rolled up his sleeves and stormed forward. Hey! Li Jianren, you've got some nerve. Lying like, but. The second he reached Li Jianran, he backed down. Hello, department head. Kai snapped to attention and greeted him respectfully. I was completely stunned. What the hell, Kai? What are you doing? Who are you calling department head? Look at you, backing down like a coward when it matters most. Frustrated by his uselessness, I marched forward myself. Seeing me storming toward him, Li Jianran instinctively stepped back, nearly dropping his phone, panic written all over his face. The woman's voice on the phone grew anxious too. Aren? What's going on over there? Who's that talking? I leaned in to look. On the screen was a middle-aged woman with a shaved head, sitting in a hospital bed. Her face was sallow, and 4 needles stuck in the back of her hand, an oxygen tube in her nose. She was so thin she looked like a strong wind could blow her over. Something twisted hard in my chest. I straightened up and bowed deeply, a full 90 degrees toward Li Jianran. Hello, department head. Li Jianran froze for a second, then forced a smile at the screen. It's nothing, nothing. Just 2 troublemakers on my team. I'll set them straight. Xiaofeng. Go with mom to your chemo. There's a celebration dinner tonight, and I'm the guest of honor. Gotta go now, talk later. With that, Lee Jianran hung up in a fluster. Then he hung his head, too ashamed to look at us, his voice subdued. It's my wife. Leukemia. They found it 6 months ago, the doctors say. She doesn't have much time left. He paused like there was a lump in his throat. Her biggest wish in life was to see me become department head. I just wanted to let her go feeling at peace. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed, and forced a smile that looked worse than a cry. Director Chun, I didn't cancel the celebration dinner tonight. Everyone can come eat together. Think of it as a small gift from me to congratulate you. With that, he wiped the corner of his eye, turned, pushed open the fire escape door, and left. His back was hunched, nothing like the snide, sarcastic Lee Jianran we knew. Kai and I stood in the empty stairwell, neither of us saying a word. After a long moment I looked at Kai. Dude, why didn't you stop me back there? Come on, Chun. You were charging in there like a bull. There was no stopping you. I clapped Kai on the shoulder. Man, I had no idea Lao Li's had it so rough. No more talking shit about him behind his back, alright? Kai turned to me with an innocent look. Wait, weren't you the one who started it? I kicked him lightly. Who started it doesn't matter. From now on, no one in our department talks about him like that. Got it? Ever since I became department head, Su Qingye has been getting bolder and bolder. Everyone at the company just looks the other way. They all think Su Qingye is just testing me. We even made our relationship official. Su Qingye bought me a Lamborghini and said she wanted to marry me. I didn't say no. We got the marriage license in private, no wedding ceremony. No one else knew about our relationship, just the two of us. At work during the day, she was still the ice cold she-devil, and I was still the useless subordinate she tore to shreds. At home at night, she was my Xiaoyaya, and I was her big brother. Sometimes we'd go to her villa and have fun together. That day, Su Qingye was so tired she fell asleep. I found a diary under her nightstand. The first page was dated 5 years ago. A new intern started at the company today. His name is Chun Chun. Clumsy, but he has a nice smile. I found out a secret. Every time I yell at him, he sneaks glances at my legs. Little rascal's got some nerve. I heard he goes to maid cafes a lot. A friend of mine owns one, so I had someone recommend the place to his best friend. I knew he'd pick me. But I didn't think he'd recognize me even with different makeup and an eye mask. He really does love me most. Little rascal's pretty clever trying to trick me about the video. Like I wouldn't know. I was watching him the whole time from the security room. Silly boy, acting all tough like a big brother is so cute. He must have been terrified on the inside, hiding under the desk on purpose to rub my feet. So sweet, I promoted him. Now I can tease him even more however I want. How to get your little puppy to marry you. Watch and learn, I'm only showing you once. Bye. Him, his favorite Lamborghini. My hand trembled slightly as I held Su Qingye's diary. Of course. The best hunters always show up looking like the prey. Su Qingye, an ice-cold CEO, was always harsh and stern to her subordinate Chun Chun at work. In fact, she had fallen for him for years, and secretly arranged an encounter at a maid cafe, drawing closer to him through their contrasting interactions. By day they were a strict superior and an enduring employee. By night they shared tender moments, and she quietly helped him get promoted. Their workplace rival Lee Jianran lied about his promotion to fulfill his seriously ill wife's wish. After learning the truth, Chun Chun set aside his prejudice and sympathized with Lee's hardship. The ending reveals everything was Su's careful plan. Chun Chun had always been the one she wanted. It teaches us never to judge others only by surface impressions, for a tough exterior often hides a soft heart. Beyond workplace competition, we should learn empathy and understanding for others' difficulties. Sincere feelings always lead to mutual devotion, and kindness remains the most touching power of all.